Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're not just going to talk about sharing information, we're going to learn how to make it truly unforgettable. We are going to literally draw up the blueprint that turns a simple idea into a really powerful experience.
I mean, think about it for a second. We are just flooded with content every single day, right? Articles, videos, posts. But what is it that makes one single idea stick in your brain while like 1,000 others just wash right over you? Well, that difference, that's what we're digging into today. And it's not magic, it's architecture.
And this brings us to this really powerful idea. You're not just a writer or a presenter. You are a content architect. Your job is to design an entire experience, a journey that takes your audience from just being curious to having a genuine aha moment.
You know, every great structure, whether it's a building or an idea, it starts with a solid blueprint. And for us, as content architects, that blueprint is this beautifully simple 3-part framework. It makes sure your message doesn't just get heard, it gets felt. It really is that simple, and at the same time, that profound. You start with a hook that makes it pretty much impossible for someone to look away. Then you guide your audience through a structured body that has a clear, logical path. And finally, you land the plane with a conclusion that drives home the value and leaves them thinking. So here's the crucial point. We have to move beyond just listing facts. I mean, information is everywhere, right? But value? Value is rare. An architect's job is to connect the what to the why. Why should your audience care? How is this idea going to change their perspective, their work, or maybe even their life? Okay, theory is great and all, but let's get practical. To really get a feel for this blueprint, we're going to put on our architect's hard hat and deconstruct a piece of content, piece by piece, so we can see exactly how these principles create something really powerful. All right, let's start at the very beginning. The all-important hook. In our case study on strategic thinking, the whole thing starts not with a statement, but with a really startling statistic. Boom! 95%. Psychological research shows that 95% of our daily decisions are made on autopilot. Just let that sink in. Are you consciously making your choices, or is your brain just kind of running a subconscious program? See, a hook like this doesn't just give you a fact. It throws a direct, personal challenge right at you. You're immediately hooked. You have to know more. So now that the hook has their attention, the body of the content absolutely has to deliver. The approach here is to break down a pretty complex topic, in this case, upgrading your thinking, into 2 really clear, digestible mental algorithms. The real magic here is in the contrast. Instead of some long, boring definition, we get 2 opposing ideas. First-order thinking, that's our autopilot brain. Hey, I'll eat this cake because it looks delicious. But second-order thinking, that's strategic. It forces us to ask a much deeper question. And this just brilliantly shows how you can make a complex idea super simple and actionable. Okay, I'll eat this cake, and then what? Well, then I'll probably feel sluggish and I'll miss my health goal. This simple question, that's the tool the audience can take with them to shift from just reacting to being truly strategic. It's a hugely powerful takeaway. Next up, a second powerful tool gets introduced, the Eisenhower Matrix. Just look at how this simple grid brings order to total chaos. It sorts everything on our to-do list into 4 neat little boxes, forcing us to separate what feels urgent, like all those pings and emails, from what is truly important. It helps us see that some urgent things aren't important at all, and some really important things aren't urgent, at least not yet. And right here, this is the core insight of the entire section. We're guided to the most critical part of this whole matrix, the genius zone. This is for tasks that are important but not urgent. Things like planning for the future, learning a new skill, or exercising. This is where the real progress happens. This is where you architect your own future. So after you've built this strong, structured body, how do you stick the landing? A great conclusion doesn't just stop, it actually ascends. It pulls everything together and gives the audience a powerful final thought to carry with them. Wow, this is a masterful conclusion. It perfectly summarizes the entire journey we just went on. We started with this idea of being a robot on autopilot, and we end with this incredibly empowering image of becoming the programmer.
It's memorable, it's inspiring, and it just elevates the entire message. So, we've deconstructed the blueprint. We've seen how a hook, a body, and a conclusion work together to create a powerful experience. Now, the focus shifts from just analyzing to actually applying. The final step is all about empowering you.
And here it is, your toolkit. These are the exact principles we just saw in action. You start strong, you build a logical path, you always explain why it matters, not just what it is, you use concrete examples, and you end with a message they'll never forget. This is the blueprint you can use for pretty much any topic. And that brings us to the end of this explainer. The tools are now in your hands. You have the blueprint. So the only real question left is the one right there on the screen. What important message will you build for the world? What idea will you architect next?